Welcome back to MP Access. My name is Ekaterina, and today we're here at the 5-Star Conference, and sitting next to me, the one and only Michael Merritt. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, jumping straight into it, from your perspective, what is the biggest legal or operational challenge servicers are facing in foreclosure world right now?
Sure. I think there's really two. I think it's still the ongoing challenges with Show Me, having to do judicial foreclosures in non-judicial states. I think we're continuing to see that just be a very operational challenge. And kind of the more recent emerging trend is the CAFMV bidding instructions from FHA. I think everyone's trying to figure out with that clarification. They're saying it's not actually a change in process, even though all of us were doing it a different way. It's figuring out those challenges, the differences in redemption states and non-redemption states, if you send all of the bid or part of the bid. So it's a very technical rule, but there's a lot of disruption. There's a lot of just uncertainty around how we should be doing that. And servicers, every servicer is handling it differently right now. So we're really having to rely on our firms to kind of give us guidance on state law. It's just a very impactful clarification, not change.
Mm-hmm. And title defects are also often overlooked and can be very expensive to fix. How common are they, and what is the best way to handle them? Sure,
they're still fairly rare, but they even one has the potential to be significantly expensive to fix. So I think it's one of the things you've always got to be proactive. I do think the CAFMV changes are going to lead to more liens, because the additional funds will go to those lien holders. So the zombie mortgage that I don't think is really a problem, but comes up in different regulations. I think you're going to see more former second liens get their lien back on. I think you're going to see more kind of nuisance liens. So title and being proactive, running your title reviews early in the process, not closer to sell. And really making sure you have people on staff that understand the importance of title and know how to cure those defects are going to be critical, I think, going forward.
Mm-hmm. And also standing challenges keep coming up to how courts are handling that.
Sure. So I've been in the industry now 20 years, and I think we've always said, how is standing still a major problem in foreclosures? I think it's the creative way from sovereign citizens, from AI-generated pro se pleadings that are getting more, I don't know that they're getting stronger, but they're getting more at least well-written than they were in the past. So, I think standing, what we learned from the financial crisis is everyone has to have a strong doc process. They have to work with their custodians. They have to work with their investors. I think where the challenges are coming in is we're beginning to see a lot more activity in the MSR market, and that's always the challenge. Is you weren't always the owner, you weren't always in custody. So I think it's important to make sure at time of transfer, do the hard work of making sure your AOMs are in place, making sure that your endorsements are in place, because you're never going to have more attention from a transferring servicer than at the time of transfer.
That is very true.
If you're coming in a year later, good luck trying to get someone on the phone that knows what they need to sign. So I think it's all about proactivity in that space.
Mm-hmm. And also contested meditations are also sometimes can help, but also slow things down. So, in your view, do they move cases forward or just create delays?
I think if it's a good faith mediation attempt, most states have evolved and really learned that in their state mandated mediations, they work if the servicer partners with the mediator and they come prepared. Some of the contested mediations are purely a stall tactic, and all they're trying to do is delay the foreclosure. But if they come in good faith, I think that they can help be a mediary to really explain the process to the customer and let them know, hey, what the servicer's telling you is right. Just provide these documents. Here's their offer. It almost is like another voice of reason. But the hard part is it's got to be in good faith. Mm-hmm. And I think the ones that come truly trying to get to a resolution are very successful. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the ones that are just trying to delay are also successful at delaying.
Mm-hmm. What are some most common mistakes you see servicers make in the foreclosure cases?
I think it's not providing everything to your firm. or not providing everything timely. I think, the standard referral packet, people take that for granted, but you should really look at what am I giving the firm on day one? Do I give them everything that they need? Am I giving them the note? Am I giving them the mortgage? Are we giving them the full title chain and the AOM? I think the better you can prepare and start the referral with a robust packet, the cleaner that foreclosure will be. And then I think just working with your firms, I say it all the time, your foreclosure attorneys are the most important strategic partner you have in default. They are not just another vendor. So don't treat them like another vendor. Talk to them about pain points, work through those friction points, and truly be partners, not just a vendor telling them what to do. Listen to them and take that feedback. Statutes of limitation, it's varies by state. It's basically how long can you take action on a debt.
Yes.
And so every state is different, which makes it very challenging. The definition of when the clock starts is different in every state. The ability to collect post statute of limitations is different in every state. So again, it's important to really rely on your firms because they are experts in those jurisdictions. They work with the judges. They know how those judges interpret the statute. They know how some of the creative accounting ways to get around the statute of limitations or to restart the statute of limitations. How effective are those? So it's important, again, to listen to your firms and work closely with them because the last thing you want to do is collect on a debt where the statute of limitations has expired or been exceeded because it sets you up for FDCPA and other regulatory actions.
And from where you sit, how do these legal issues affect timeliness, costs, and overall recoveries?
Sure, it's table stakes to understand those challenges in the default space. I think you've got to be an expert in every state you service in, which is a challenge because every state changes differently. I think having a proper change management just program that includes getting input from your firms is critical to success because they're actually plugged into even what's working its way through the legislature. So they'll give you enough of a lead time of what's coming to be prepared for those changes. So every state law, every investor requirement is really designed to slow down foreclosure. So you've got to understand them so that you can effectively help customers follow state laws and effectively and timely manage foreclosure if a borrower is not engaged with you.
How have you seen foreclosure law change over the years, and what shifts stand out the most?
Sure. I think the Homeowner Bill of Rights during the financial crisis really stand out to me. So they were more designed around retention, but they directly impacted foreclosure law. So that's what really took the CFPB servicing rules, and when you had to stop foreclosure, it expanded those. So you really had to understand each state, what their protections were, what their requirements for those protections were, and it just made the foreclosure process much more complex. I think 15 years ago, you really had a divide between judicial and non-judicial. Those were the differences of foreclosure. Did you have to go to court, or could you do it in a non-judicial or a quasi-judicial way? Now, it's really around, what safeguards the state has, and more states are becoming aggressive again on that. So they want to protect their constituents. They put bumps and roadblocks in that process. So, I think foreclosure becomes more complex every year, and it will continue to become more complex every year.
What's one of the most surprising or unexpected legal trends you've seen in your career?
I think the show me state is probably the most surprising because at least on paper, it seems like that ruling does not follow established law. And the impact where it's gone beyond the circuit it was first decided in, and you're forcing non-judicial states to have judicial foreclosure activity is very surprising to me, to a point where some of our firms are actually having to teach the judges what they should be doing because the state's just not set up for it. They've never had those proceedings before. So I think that's the most surprising one. Maybe not necessarily the most challenging because the volume is still fairly constrained, but that's been one. I never thought that we would have to do a completely different judicial process in a non-judicial state.
Mm-hmm. How important is communication between attorneys and servicers in keeping cases on track?
Critical. I think you have got to work with your attorneys. And I think the communication has to go both ways. I think that when they have problem files, they have to be willing to tell you, here's what we're seeing, here's what the pleading from the plaintiff was, here's what we think you should do. But it should go, the servicer should be communicating as well. We received a complaint on this file. Here's what they're alleging to us. We think that they could use this as a contested defense. The partnership between those two, I think, is, again, the most important part of my default world. Not that other vendors aren't important, but your foreclosure firm is doing much more than just a vendor work. They are strategic partners. They're experts in that jurisdiction, and you cannot have an effective default world without those strong relationships.
Mm-hmm. And also, technology is playing a bigger role in legal and foreclosure work, especially in 2025. Where do you see the biggest benefits, and where does it all fall short?
Sure. I think mortgage is in the midst of a just technology transformation. I think if you look at our systems, a lot of them are based on 65-year-old mainframe technology. So it's not surprising that we've been trailing behind. But I think AI has an unbelievable power to help default and legal firms from research. I think that's a big one that it can help. I think document review and assistance in that legal research and even drafting. The pitfall is that you have to have human in the loop. There have been some very prominent stories about AI just creating case law out of thin air, and attorneys have been disbarred for not checking those pleadings. So just like with anything, I think you've always got to trust your sources and check your sources. So keeping human in the loop and using it effectively, I think, can make all of us more efficient, because the margins are only getting smaller. So we have to do more for the same money, or sometimes even less money. So it's important that we use technology in the right way. But I think it absolutely has a chance to completely revolutionize the legal industry.
Mm-hmm. On a personal note, Michael, what keeps you motivated to stay so involved in foreclosure and default law and in supporting industry events like the 5-Star Conference?
I really think it's people. This industry allows us to really support the American dream of home ownership. So, servicers and the foreclosure firms are really working together to help drive people back to getting engaged and getting in loss mitigation. And then the relationships that you build in this industry. It's a big industry, but it's a very small industry. So the ability to see people that, I have worked for continue to move up in the industry, people that work for me move up in the industry and become impactful and carrying on, leadership ideals. I just think it's such a great industry full of people that really care about what they do. And again, we through the financial crisis, there were a lot of people that the reputation wasn't the best of our industry. And I think that we've really shown we are committed to doing the right thing, to helping consumers and customers, and then working to, again, preserve the American dream. So I think that's what really keeps me motivated, because the job matters and the people matter.
Mm-hmm. And if you had to give one clear piece of advice to servicers or investors on managing foreclosure risks, what would it be?
I think it's understand the importance of timely foreclosure action, because of the positive impact it has on borrower engagement. I think if you do not work efficiently and there's no impact or deadline to not paying and not engaging with the customer, they will not call you. So being efficient, you're not the bad guy, you are mostly driving engagement. I think there's a couple of times when customers are the most likely to call you. It's the first time they get a demand letter. It's the first time they get a notice of sale. So take advantage of that, because you are driving people back into engagement with Loss Mit to save their home.
Michael, thank you so much for your time and for your expertise and sharing your insights on the foreclosure. We are here at the 5-Star Conference. Thank you for listening.